Boots struck dirt, heavy and cruel, the sound cracking through the dry air. A woman's cry split the road, sharp as glass, as rough hands dragged her down into the dust. Settlers ringed around her, shouting, jeering, their fists flashing like tools of hate. Sun burned overhead, relentless, turning every bead of sweat into fire on her skin. Chinese whore! One spat, swinging again, knuckles catching her cheek. The crowd roared. Another settler pressed a boot into her ribs, grinding down until she gasped. Horses stamped nervously at their hitching posts, their eyes rolling white as if even beasts knew something foul was happening. No law stepped forward. No preacher raised his voice. Men leaned on posts, women peeked from windows, children clutched skirts. Silence was complicity, and the mob's cruelty grew bold. The dust of the main street rose in little choking clouds as she tried to shield her face with trembling arms. Her daughter, small and wiry, broke from the crowd. Dark braids slapped against her shoulders as she ran, eyes wide with terror. "Mama!" she screamed, but the settlers shoved her back with the flat of a hand. She fell, coughing in the dirt. "Teach her what happens when their kind thinks they belong here," another shouted, lifting a leather belt high. The crack of it lashing down echoed between the wooden facades of the saloon and mercantile. The girl scrambled to her feet. Her chest heaved. Her eyes darted to the mountains rising like jagged teeth beyond the town. She turned and ran, faster than she'd ever run in her life. Past wagons, past fences, past the last clapboard house on the edge of town. The settlers' laughter chased her, cruel and echoing, until only the sound of her breath filled her ears. The desert opened wide, heat shimmering above rock and sage. Her feet cut through brittle grass, stumbling over stones, but she did not stop. Each breath tore her throat raw. Each heartbeat pounded her chest as if her ribs might crack. Higher she climbed, into the folds of the mountain where pine shadows stretched long and cool. Birds scattered from branches as she passed, their wings beating frantic against the stillness. Somewhere above, smoke curled thin and gray from a chimney. Lonely, stubborn smoke, rising from a cabin half swallowed by the trees. Her legs buckled as she reached the clearing. A figure stood there, tall as a pine, broad as the mountain itself. A beard shadowed his face, lines of old grief etched deep in his skin. His hand stilled on the axe he'd been swinging into a split log. She collapsed at his boots, dirt streaking her tear-wet cheeks. Words tore from her throat between sobs, breaking on desperation. They're killing my mama. Please save her." The axe slipped from his hand, burying its blade into the stump with a thud that rang like the start of something the world had long forgotten. The girl's fingers clutched his coat, knuckles white, shaking as if she could anchor herself to the mountain through him. Her words hung in the still air, raw and desperate, echoing in the silence between trees. The mountain man did not move. His shadow stretched long across the clearing, cut sharp by the fading sun. The axe still quivered in the stump, its handle humming like it knew a decision was being weighed. His jaw tightened, and he turned his face away. "Go back," he said, voice rough with stone and years. "Ain't my fight." The girl's eyes widened. She shook her head, pulling at him harder. "They'll kill her. Please, please." Her voice broke, thin and cracked like glass under strain. He stepped back, and she nearly fell forward, clutching at empty air. His boots ground against gravel. He looked toward the horizon, where smoke from the town drifted faint and gray. His hand curled once, then loosened, as though struggling against some unseen chain. "World below's got no mercy," he muttered. "Didn't when I was in it. Don't now." His gaze dropped, heavy to the earth. The lines around his eyes deepened, memories carving shadows deeper than the mountain pines. The girl's voice rose sharp against the silence. "If you don't, you're the same as them." Her words shook, but they did not falter. Her hands balled into fists, small but burning with the stubborn fire of the young. His chest rose with a long, strained breath. A crow cawed from somewhere in the ridge, the sound jagged, like the tearing of cloth. The mountain man's eyes lifted at last, not to her, but to the cabin behind him. Its door hung slightly ajar, the faint glint of iron catching what little sun remained. He walked slowly toward it. Each step was measured, deliberate, like a man crossing into a graveyard he once swore he'd never return to. Dust clung to his shoulders as he pushed the door wide. Inside, shadows clung thick, the air unmoved for years. His hand found the chest. Old wood creaked beneath his grip. He dragged it into the light, knelt, and undid the iron latch. Hinges shrieked as the lid opened. There, wrapped in oilcloth and silence, lay a long rifle. Beside it, a revolver scarred from use, the metal worn smooth where his fingers once lived. A knife rested last, its edge still keen, catching a shard of light and throwing it back with cold fire. For a long moment, he stared. His shoulders sank as if the weight of every grave, every ghost, pressed down at once. Behind him, the girl stood still, eyes locked, hardly breathing. At last, he took the revolver. The sound of the hammer being drawn back clicked sharp, final. He set the rifle across his arm, slid the knife into its sheath. When he turned, his face was hard as stone. And so, the wind whispered through the pines. The mountain man walked down from his mountain, and the earth below began to tremble, though it did not yet know why. The saloon doors banged open, slamming against the walls as the mountain man stepped through the haze of dusk. Silence cut the room clean. Cards froze mid-air. Glasses hung halfway to mouths. The piano stuttered dead. Boots thudded slow on warp boards. His shadow stretched long, swallowing lamplight, swallowing fear. He said nothing, only let the weight of his presence settle like storm clouds over the valley. Outside, the settlers dragged the Chinese woman into the dirt once more, her wrists raw from rope, her cheeks swollen purple. Their laughter cracked sharp against the still air, cruel and careless. The mountain man's voice came low, gravel grinding on gravel. Let her go. A smirk cut across a settler's face. He spat in the dirt, eyes burning mean. Ain't your business, old man. His hand twitched to the revolver at his side. The mountain man did not blink. I'll say it once. The settler drew. Steel flashed. Smoke split the air. Thunder roared in the street. The settler staggered back, clutching his chest, eyes wide in disbelief. Dust puffed up where he fell, blood dark against pale earth. The mob howled. Guns jerked from holsters. The mountain man moved like a storm loosed from heaven. His revolver barked fire. 1, 2, 3, each shot finding its mark before another hand could steady. Men dropped, weapons clattering from dying fingers. Windows shattered, glass raining down as stray rounds tore through boards. Horses reared at the posts, screaming, hooves hammering the ground. The Chinese woman curled into herself, shielding her head as the fight raged around her. The mountain man's rifle swung up, long barrel gleaming in the half-light. He braced it firm, fired, and a settler crumpled mid-charge, his torch tumbling dark into the dust. The echo rolled down the street, bouncing off canyon walls like the mountain itself had spoken. Still more came. Faces twisted with rage, eyes drunk on hate. They surged with chains, axes, and shovels. Kill him, someone screamed, voice breaking in madness. Burn him down. The mountain man reloaded, each motion precise, hands steady as if time itself bent to his rhythm. Bullets slammed into posts, splinters flying. A round tore the brim of his hat, another punched through his coat. He didn't falter. A settler lunged close, swinging an axe. The mountain man's knife met him, steel whispering through flesh. The man dropped with a scream that died quick. And then there was stillness, just for a breath. Smoke drifted thin across the street. The Chinese woman lifted her face, eyes wide, chest heaving. Around her lay bodies sprawled in blood and dust. The survivors pulling back, shaken, whispering to one another in disbelief. Only then did the truth tremble across their faces. He was no hermit, no harmless ghost of the mountain. He was the legend whispered of in saloons and soldier camps. The gunfighter who walked away because death followed wherever he went. And he'd come back. Flames licked the eaves, smoke curling black against the night sky. The town's main street burned, lanterns shattered, boards catching fast. Shadows danced wild over blood-soaked dirt as the settlers closed in, their leader at the front, shotgun glinting in the firelight. The mountain man stood alone, rifle leveled, his breath steady, eyes hard as stone. Behind him, the Chinese woman staggered to her feet, her daughter clutching her waist. They pressed close, waiting on his strength, as if it were the only wall between them and death. The mob surged. Chains swung, iron teeth of axes flashed. The mountain man's rifle cracked, thunder rolling. A man spun backward, torch tumbling into the dust. He swung the barrel again, fired, and another fell, screaming into the fire. Still they came. Bullets tore through the night. With splintered glass burst, the street filled with the clash of steel and roar of guns. The mountain man emptied his rifle, let it drop, and drew his revolver with a motion smooth as breath. Each shot rang true, settlers collapsing mid-stride, weapons slipping from their hands before they struck. A shotgun boomed. Fire ripped the air. The mountain man staggered, coat torn wide across his side. The woman cried out, reaching toward him, but he steadied, teeth bared against the pain. His revolver lifted, answered with fire, and the shotgun wielder dropped, chest blooming red in the glow of flames. The crowd wavered. For the first time, fear cut through their frenzy. Their leader roared, shoving them forward, his face twisted in rage, shotgun reloaded, gleaming with fresh death. The mountain man straightened, shoulders square, revolver smoking empty. Slowly, he drew the knife from his belt. Steel flashed bright as a star, catching firelight, a promise of final reckoning. They met in the center of the street, giant and ghost, mountain and man. The leader raised his shotgun, trigger finger tightening. The mountain man lunged first. The blade drove hard, twisting under ribs. The shotgun roared wild, tearing sparks from stone, missing its mark. The leader's eyes went wide, mouth spilling blood. He staggered, dropped, and the firelight swallowed him whole. The street stilled. Survivors scattered, dropping chains, torches, weapons. Horses tore free and thundered into the dark. Flames cracked against the night, lighting the broken town in red and gold. The woman fell to her knees beside her daughter, clutching her close, tears cutting clean lines through the dust on her face. She looked up, lips trembling with words unsaid, eyes locked on the mountain man. He stood in silence, blood running dark down his side, knife heavy in his hand. Slowly, he turned toward the mountains, fire at his back, legend at his heels. And when the smoke cleared, no one saw him again. Some say he died that night. Others swear he walked into the pines, swallowed by shadows, carried off by the mountain itself. But the story lingers, carried on wind and dust, that when the helpless cried for mercy, a forgotten man rose, and justice was written in fire and blood.